Good morning, everyone. This is Yoga for Life, and today's class is going to focus on strengthening. So this is about a 55-minute class, and we do anywhere from 20 to 25 different asanas or poses, and within those asanas are there vinyasanas or flows. And so this is definitely a go at your own pace. If there's a move that isn't working for you and that I find can be difficult, I usually insert a little bit of an easier move that's just as good as the move that I'm presenting. So let's go ahead and get started. So let's get to the center of our space. It's always good to be able to move into the ranges, into the different planes that your body is going to go into today and break them down and then sort of combine them a little bit so we know where the trouble spots might be when we're moving in yoga poses today. So 20 seconds, let's just come forward and back. This is a forward fold or a half forward fold. Make sure you have a chair. Your chair is a great partner here, especially in a situation like this forward fold, where you just want to take your time, seeing how your back is feeling, seeing how your knees or your ankle are feeling. And just coming from that lumbar stretch of the glutes and some stretch of the hams, make sure that you bend your knees. If you feel you're coming from the thoracic, that's when you start to round out your spine in order to come forward. I'd rather see you bend your knees a little bit and hinge forward and keep that tabletop. Breathe in and out, just 20 seconds. It could be one or two reps. Some of us like to hold it for a little bit longer within the 20 seconds. Some of us want to do 5 or 6 reps. We just want to get a little bit more dynamics to our balance, our muscle building in there, stretching. Almost there. And all the different planes and ways that we're going to stretch can start to affect your breathing. So make sure you're breathing in and breathing out. Great. We're going to stay in the plane, but we're going to come back a bit now. And so what was kind of tight before is going to stretch. And what was stretching is going to strengthen. So 20 seconds coming back. You're going to find new muscles are going to open up. Perhaps the jaw is going to drop. You're going to breathe a little bit different. Balance might feel different, right? The perception you're looking up, that's changing. That can affect your orientation. Almost there. And then come all the way up. So we have 2 other planes to go, and then again, I'm going to show you how to combine them. So we want to do some moves that happen on the side. We have different experiences, especially for the spine, when you start compressing one side and start stretching the other. So I want you to be careful how you get in there. A good way to begin is with the shoulder, and then kind of sliding the opposite hand down and just noticing and seeing how your spine feels. And again, one side starts compressing vertically and the other side starts stretching. And we're going to do the same thing. 20 seconds, you're going to decide, is that 1 or 2 stretches for me on each side, or is this more like a 5 or 6 dynamic stretching? Still acknowledge breath, right? Organs, diaphragm, things like that. They're stretching, they're acting a little bit different. I'm keeping my hips pretty straight. If you feel comfortable pushing out to the side and getting more in there, that's perfectly fine as well. 20 seconds, almost up there. And then we're going to get into that twisty or revolving or pivoting plane, right? So start with the pivot. You're going to work through the ankles. So we're just taking the spine. It's not turning or twisting or revolving at this moment. It's just we're working with the feet through the knees, through the hips, and just orientating the spine in different directions. And so you can start to add on here. You can add the revolve. You're going to go to the pivot and you want to add the spine. You start to add the revolve. Twenty seconds. Very good. And remember, your transverse plane doesn't have to look like my transverse plane. You're just understanding how the body moves, especially in yoga when we get into some of the more complex asanas, poses, or vinyasanas, and those are the flows. Let's get the neck. The neck needs its own special attention. A lot of access, a lot of relaxation through moving the neck. So let's start with just our head turn side to side. And that's where we notice a lot of things. We notice what kind of mobility that we have, what kind of range, and if there's any other sensations such as stiffness happening, if we can even feel it all the way down into the lumbar spine. So we'll go into our stretching patterns and then we're going to do that check again. We're going to turn side to side and see if anything kind of loosened up for you. So ear to the same shoulder in our salamander stretch. Being aware of not moving other parts of our body, right? The only item that's in the side or frontal plane is that neck. Make sure you go to each side. It's a time for deep sighs. You might notice they just kind of come up for you, the breath. Become aware of the sensations without judgment. Just awareness, excellent. We're going to do a manual stretch of that. We're going to deepen that. So you're going to go ahead and turn one ear towards the shoulder. So if I'm going towards the left, that would be your right if you're mirroring. I'm going to take that same side arm and just come wrap it around the front of my head and just give a little bit of a pull. Stay centered, keep your weight between your 2 feet. See if that stretch deepens you. Rotate back the other shoulder. Just rotate it back a little bit, open that up, and see if you want to get that arm a little bit behind as you're doing this stretch. You can squeeze your glutes if you feel like your tailbone or lumbar isn't comfortable. And then I'll let that other arm go and just bring the head up. And so we'll go opposite sides. So it starts with the tilt. And then whatever side that you've tilted that ear towards, you're going to bring the hand all the way up and over. Give just a little bit of a pull. Bring in the breath, relax. Roll that opposite shoulder back. And see what you can do in terms of bringing the arm behind. Squeezing the glutes if you need to. And then let's break it down. So I'm going to bring that arm back. Let go with the hand. Take your time bringing up. Breathe in, breathe out. Okay, a tilt to each side and a look up, right? Lots of different ways that we're moving that upper trapezius and that neck muscle. So tilting the head again, and then looking up, stretching the neck. Break it down. You want to bring the head down first, and then fix the tilt. And then opposite side, tilting. And then go ahead and look up. All right, you might find a little tough spot or some stiffness. Offer some breath. Come back center, and then let's turn the head side to side. See something shifted for you. You might not be able to notice what that is or call it. It's a physical sensation or a mental or emotional sensation. Something you are able to relax into. We're going to go into our first flow, into our first vinyasana, and that's going to be sun salutations. So that's going to keep us primarily into the sagittal front and back plane in this flow. And then from there, we'll grow. You'll find yourself getting into more and more different planes at once, right? That could be twisting as well as leaning forward. So take your time here. I'm going to face the chair. The chair is going to be a nice tool for me if you don't like to get all the way down on the floor. You've got this chair up that can help you and assist you with that. First pose, first asana is mountain pose. Palms facing forward. Breathe in and out. Stretch your feet out. Feel centered. And then we'll go into prayer pose slowly. Just feeling the heat gathering between your fingers before they actually touch. And then dropping into prayer pose with breath. Third pose, we're going to reach up. Upward salute. If your shoulders bother you for any reason, the same stretch can be achieved by just putting your arms down and doing a little bit of a vertical locus. And then coming forward, right, if those arms are up, you can stretch them out. You're going to do a nice deep forward fold. Take your time getting there. Find yourself on the half forward fold. And then see if you're ready to go a little bit further. Hands could be tight. It's okay to bend your knees. Hands do not have to be on the floor. They can still be on the chair. Excellent. Okay, I'm going to start a little balance here. When we go into this next move, balance is needed. So I want you to shift your weight over to one side without pushing the hip out and trying to get rid of the weight. I want that one side of your body to be able to take that. So this becomes pyramid, or this becomes runner's lunge, depending on where you're okay with putting that foot. So you can put that heel down, we can get a little pyramid, that feels really good. Or you can bend that front knee and get that back heel off. Work on that placement behind you because the other foot is going to come and be in the same position. You're gonna lift up that foot that's in front, sink it and match it with that foot that's behind. We're gonna go downward dog now. So take your time. It's a deep posterior stretch. You've got shoulder stretching, back stretching, hands, calves. Breathe in, breathe out. Excellent. So we go to a little spinal wave or rolling here. It's as much forward as you want, and you're able to push it all the way back. Just go to where you're comfortable. If you're comfortable like walking the dog and enjoying that downward dog a little bit more, go for it. There's different parts of the sun salutations that can be kind of challenging. If you can roll more into plank, great. If that's too much for the upper body, again, just stay back and work on stretching other parts of the body. I'm going to drop into plank. I'm going to stay there. I'm going to follow the order of sun salutations as much as I can and go into upward facing dog. Kind of skipping that chaturanga and skipping the cobra and just going straight for the downward facing or upward facing dog. And then back into greeting a lot of you where you're kind of doing that little spinal wave. You're staying in downward facing dog. And then all of us picking up that same position again together. Just gonna go one more time with that. So it's spinal waves. There's a little bit of cat-cow if you want to find it in there. But I'm gonna go through the process of plank. Avoiding that chaturanga and the cobra, typically in the sequence, and going right into upward facing dog. And then join a lot of you in the spinal wave, a little bit of the cat-cow movement. Just feeling that out, and downward dog. Great. Okay, so whatever foot you didn't have up in front, you're gonna go ahead and bring that up front, and you're gonna hit that pyramid, or if you're bending that knee, it's gonna be more like that runner's lunge. And then opposite foot is going to come up and join, and you're in that forward fold, seeing if you have a little bit more flexibility. And here's the part where we kind of back it up to where the beginning was. So next move is going to be upward salute. Remember, you don't have to have your arms up. Your arms can be behind you if you don't feel comfortable with those arms coming all the way up. And then into prayer, but feel the heat, the energy before those fingertips touch. From prayer into Tadasana, mountain pose. Right where you're starting the sun salutations. Excellent first vinyasana, excellent first flow. Make sure that you're getting a little water, moving around a bit. We go into some other movements. So I think what we'll do next is we'll explore the cat-cow a little bit. So you felt it coming down into a bit of tabletop movement of the spine. So we'll try it a different way. We'll try it standing today and kind of see the roll of the shoulders, move the shoulders a little bit more. So feeling centered, feeling your whole feet. Breathe in, breathe out. Back to Tadasana, a great way to start. Palms open. We'll go into the roll of the shoulders here. So in a Tai Chi-like motion, we're going to open the door and just close the door. And begin the phases of feeling retraction as you come back. And then protraction of the blades spreading apart without necessarily rounding out the center of your spine. Right, feel that squeeze as if the lemon is between the blades, the lemon drops, and then the wings spread out without rounding out the spine. I would stay and open and close the door if you're not a fan of the overhead, but I'm going to change the movement into separating heaven and earth and just feeling it a little bit more in the shoulders. Protraction and retraction on either side of the body. Excellent. Okay, one more move here. So we're just going to push the energy, push the chi. Feel the wings spread out. And then retract back. It's very functional. Also how we look when we're pushing something. Excellent. Extend all the way out. There's your plank. Start bending your elbows. There's your chaturanga low plank. Squeeze your blades a bit together, and there's your cobra, right? So there's all these moves in here that we have. So let's get to the spine a little bit. Pelvic movement. Think of the pelvic as a clock, right? 12 is going to be in front, 6 is going to be behind, and we have a 9 and a 3 at the side. So the tailbone faces straight down, but in order to have it point towards the 12, give a little squeeze. This also helps to think of it as a bucket full of water. And there's some water moving out the back now as you squeeze and point towards the 12. And go ahead and release. So now when we're going to go towards that 6, it's going to cause compression in the lumbar, so we want to be careful of that. And so water spills out the front and the tailbone aims towards the 6 behind. And then back to center. It's a small clock. The clock is no bigger than here, so you don't need to make exaggerated stretches forward and back towards that clock. Go ahead back to the 12. Feel the glutes squeeze in. Nice tight glutes. Soft knees if they're bothering you. Release, come back to vertical neutral, steady out the bucket. And then the pelvis, right? We start contracting here and water starts spilling out the front as we feel as if we're kind of stretching the abs a bit. Back to neutral. So we're in cat. We're squeezing the glutes. Release. When we're in cow, we're stretching the abs and contracting the lumbar spine. Excellent. Back to neutral. Okay, with the neck, hopefully the most mobile, right? The cervical. Drop the chin down to eye level and up. And when we're in cat, the chin is dropped down. And when we're in cow, we're looking up. Great. So let's combine it, right? We're going to combine how we're going to push, how we're going to squeeze, what the pelvis is going to do, what the neck is going to do. So I'm going to call out cat. So that would be definitely pushing out, squeezing the glutes, and looking down with the chin. And take it all to vertical neutral. And now we want to go into the cow. So decide like what's going to feel best for you. Would it be squeezing the lemon first and then looking up? And then trying to tilt back to a 6. And then vertical neutral. So I want you to play with those movements. And it's okay to mix and match a little bit. You're like, what if I was squeezing when I was bringing my retraction and looking up? Well, that would be great. That would be like cobra, right? So there's all these yoga moves in here, so you can't go wrong with the flow. Of how you want to feel these moves, when you want to feel them. And bring in the breath. This is what is meant by spinal waves, when you bring these flows in here and you hit all these positions in yoga in a vertical stance. Excellent. So you can repeat that if you feel best standing. I'm going to go into tabletop and see if you can bring on those same waves, those same feelings. If retraction can still happen for you, right? A little scapula movement of bringing the blades together. If you don't like that feels on the lumbar, you might want to round out a little bit and try some scapula movement. Not bending my elbows as much as I'm allowing those blades to come together by dropping my body down. You can just play with that. And you can start to add on. our neck movements, pelvic movements. And seeing if you have flow. Excellent. Take your time coming up. Great. So everything at this point has really been in one plane. It's been going forward and going back. Right. So, but now it's time for us to combine the planes, be moving, be leaning, be coming forward. So let's get into our warrior poses, right? Forward fold, good way, or a wide-legged forward fold is a good way to start opening up the hips a bit. Coming forward, wide leg. One more move here in the sagittal plane. Be comfortable. Find where you're comfortable in that wide leg. You're going to keep that width for a while as you go into warrior leg. So you want to find where you're comfortable. Okay, come all the way up. So I'm just going to start mixing up the planes a bit. You want to get into the warrior legs. So both feet are face forward. I want you to turn one out. So I'm going to turn one towards the camera there. Good. So I have an intersecting line there, right? One foot going this way, one foot going that way. Excellent. Can you bend that foot that you turned? Want to be careful of knees here. All right, so instead of focusing on that full range, maybe just a couple of moves on the full range. And then maybe limiting the range and just working on the flexion there. Okay, I want to move the legs. I want to try it on the opposite side, moving through the ankle. Making sure that knee's coming over that second and third toe, and you want it to be able to pass the toes. And if that's not happening, maybe the feet need to come together a little bit more. Balance is at play here, right? So stay within your pillar. Try not to lean forward too much. Taking 30% of that forward is going to cause a disbalance there. Okay, pivot again. And so this time you have the option of not bending the knee, but as we lean into that plane. More back, less knee, right? Just feeling that out, how that back is doing combining these planes. Hips are face forward, orientated in a forward manner, but yet you're coming out at the side, stretching. Opposite side, warrior legs, get yourself steady. Without bending that knee. Lean in. Shoulder back, shoulder comes forward, it's going to cause a little bit of disbalance. Breathe in, breathe out. Good. Foot turns forward. Excellent job. Inhale. Exhale. Okay, let's start combining the arms a little bit. So when we start moving the arms a bit, the torso gets in, it gets into that plane, it starts rotating. So let's go into warrior leg. Let's try that warrior two. Typically that's one of the safer ones. You can feel a retraction of the blade and you can make a decision. If you don't want to bend that knee, you don't have to go into two. Instead, you can go into triangle if you'd like. So I've got two choices there. Right, and you can try them both. We'll spend enough time. And they both require strength in different ways, right? Okay. With the feet again, we want to go to the opposite side and experience both or maybe one. Got warrior two. We also have the option of triangle. And it's okay to try them both. If you're a little bit better. There we go. Excellent. Come all the way up. Breathe in, breathe out. See if you're doing okay. And let's just do one more here. So we pivot the foot. And see if you can swing the body into the warrior one pose, right? So we can play off the two, whether or not you're going to bend your knee, that's okay. We can play off the two and see without bending the knee, can we get into the one? Just feel that change up there and make sure that the hands are able to come down and just kind of clear the knee. Just feel that change up and decide, would you like to bend the knee on this one? And then come all the way up. And then we'll try it on the opposite side. So orientate the feet into warrior, or perhaps triangle, depending on what that knee's going to do. So you can feel that warrior two. And then feel that rotation of that one. What's going to feel good for the knee? Some bending, no bending. Excellent. Come all the way up. Good. So if you want to, you can get into the chair a bit, right? But since the word is strengthening, I'm going to stay up. It doesn't mean you're not being strong if you decide to get in the chair and do some of these other poses. Just an option there. I'm going to go into goddess. So keeping that width, keeping the feet out a bit, whatever's going to help get the knee over the second and third toe. So maybe just feeling that out a bit. This is a lot of deep strength. So if it becomes too much, it's great to get in the chair, just getting there for a moment, because you're working on the flexion. You're working on the stretch there. Getting the knee over the second and third toe and just taking out a bit of that strengthening. So don't be shy about getting in the chair if you want to get in the chair and just work on orientation a bit. Breathe in, breathe out. Just take care of how the lower spine is feeling. The knees aren't in compliance, so they're just subconsciously not doing their job, right? Sometimes the spine can start to come out a little bit if the knees aren't bending enough, and you can create it as little C curves. So you want to be careful about that. And just honor whatever strength that you have in this moment with Goddess Squat. Excellent. We want to take care of that. So I'm going to go into the chair now. Maybe some of you are in it. Maybe some of you are finally getting into it. We're just going to work on the flexion. We're going to work on the range a little bit, which helps with the mobility, helps with strength. So let's find the warrior legs in the chair. See if it opens up a little bit. If you have some freedom to open up a little bit wider, it's not going to work. You're sitting there the whole time. See if that opens up a little bit wider. I meant it the first time. Breathe in, breathe out. The hips open up a little bit more, and see you're in these different planes here. And just feel the torso a bit as if it's going into one. As if it's going into two, warrior two. Have it lean in towards that bend knee, as if you're going into extended side angle. And then have it lean the opposite way as if you're going into reverse warrior. Okay, opposite side, right? So that's just a really deep feeling of the legs. When you start adding the arms, it becomes a lot more for the core. That's a lot of strengthening. Open up the legs, same thing, right with that intersection. Knee over the second and third toe. That back heel is coming into the middle of that back foot. Feeling like maybe your flexion, the wideness increased a little bit. You're not on all this pressure of having to sit up. And then seeing what it feels like to rotate your torso as if going into one. And then rotate it back as if you're trying to get into warrior two. And then lean down towards that knee as if you're going into extended side angle. And then back up and feel the compression there as you go into reverse warrior. So this is what I mean about combining lots of planes and you're in lots of different areas at once. Okay, so we're gonna add the arms in this, right? Don't feel like you have to reach all the way out. You can, that's excellent, but just keep monitoring your core, your back, how it's feeling in all of this. Gonna start out as one. See where you're at with the arms. Right, if you feel okay, really reaching up. And then seeing if you can go into two. You feel that torso rotate. And then extended side angle. So that front knee, I'm gonna drop the same arm. See, this can feel a lot different than this. And then rotate arms into reverse warrior, right? This feels one way, this feels very different. Breathe in and out, take your time coming out of it behind your hips, behind your back. Take those deep breaths, holding your breath. And opposite side, working with the arms, extending out the arms. Warrior one. Where those arms want to be. Warrior two. Feel the torso rotation. Extended side angle. You're going to drop that same arm on that bent front knee. We're going to Omar, just feel a little at a time, right? There's one way. Ooh, full new. And reverse warrior. And come to center. Breathe in, breathe out. Bring the feet in a little bit closer if you feel stabilized. You can come forward and kind of look over the edge there, and then we'll just stretch the back out a little bit. Let's just spend 20 seconds here. Coming forward and coming back. Excellent. So we're going to get into our next short little vinyasana that typically focuses on the chair, right to the upright vertical bridge. And then we balance a little bit with the tree pose. But I'm thinking today, to be kind to knee day is instead of doing chair, maybe we'll work a little bit more on doing a half forward fold, or also known as like a deadlift, Romanian deadlift, and coming into the chair perhaps like a different way. Okay, so up out of the chair, trying to use the biggest muscles as you come up. And we're going to substitute that chair pose, right? We'll just demonstrate it for a minute. It's like a squat, right? When you're getting into that chair pose, you're using as much knee power as you have with the arms up, right? We're going to think about substituting that today for coming forward and a half tabletop. And then coming back up and going into that glute squeeze. So if you love that chair pose, there's nothing wrong with doing the chair pose, doing that squat, but I'm going to substitute that a bit today for that Romanian deadlift. And then we shift over into the balance, right? So we're working on the tree pose. So over to one side, try not to shift that weight out to a 9 or a 3. And just seeing where you're at. So we flow through this several times. So plenty of time to get into that appropriate tree pose. I'm gonna go the other side, just seeing how's the knee, how's the hip, how's the body feeling when I come up and shift my weight over on one side. Great, so there is one set, one flow, and we'll start from the beginning. Half forward fold or Romanian deadlift. All the way up into glute squeeze or a modified bridge. Shifting weight over into tree pose. Seeing where you're at, pushing it. Just noticing how the body's reacting to that. Are the toes kind of gripping the floor? Are we pushing and going a little bit too fast? Shifting over opposite side. Seeing I've got range in my knee if I have more ability to push that knee out into the side there. And take your time, we just go through another flow. Squeeze. To the shift into tree. Taking your time. Finding that placement, finding your time, taking your time, bringing your feet up, bringing your feet down, bringing your hands together, all of that. Settling into where you're good, where you're going to find that strength for the day. It's not about completion all the time of the pose or hitting the pose perfectly. It's kind of just about accepting that moment of where you're at with it. Back into the chair. We're going to get a little bit revolve, a little bit twisty. So watch out for that word. Revolve and twist can often mean the same thing. Let's extend the legs out. Let's bring in a little bit of seated staff pose like you would if you're driving, right? You need to be alert when the legs are not as contracted or holding the body up. So just work on that for just a moment. And see where you're at lifting one leg. If the hip flexors are working for you, that the core is working for you, you don't have to round out the back to get there. And then go ahead and drop. Somebody's very needy today. Okay, opposite leg comes up. And everything's okay, lower back is okay, using your core. This is such a great core exercise. You could just go into reps on this. It's a Pilates move, just be lifting that. As long as everything's feeling okay and your back is feeling strong. I'm gonna slide up one foot. I'm gonna go into nerve flossing here. So without rounding out the back. I want to start getting some range as I bend the knee and I drive it towards my armpit. See what the range is there without feeling compelled to round out the center of my back. And then what's the range as you extend out your knee. Feel perturbation to the point of where you're like, I'm shaking. Okay, you're there. And begin moving back and forth. Excellent. And then just break that down again. And let's go through it one more time. So I think it's also good to just be bringing the knee up, extending it out, mirror floss a little bit, and then just repeat that. Bringing up to the knee. It's a nice back stretch. Extending out to the point of perturbation, and then getting into the nerve floss. Again, so I'd like to repeat that. Let's bring the knee up. Let's extend out as part of the process of nerve flossing. Okay, now we're ready to do a little bit of a deeper figure 4 for that hip. So we're gonna bring that over. Just paying attention to how the back is behaving and start taking some deep breaths. Likely it's stiff. For all of us, it can be very stiff for that hip to drop out. Great stretch. Getting the benefit of opening the hips up, making the back feel a little bit better. Breathe in, breathe out. And see if something wants to release. We really need to make this into a static. We really need to wait this out for at least 30 seconds. And honor that process it takes to let go. That is strength. Sometimes letting go is strength. All right. Take your time. We're going to repeat the process on the opposite side. So again, it's all about bringing that knee up, watching the back, bringing the knee up to the armpit. Start extending out to the point of a little bit of shaking, and then begin your movement through the ankle. Drawing the toes towards the body. A bit of pointing. And then break the process down. I'm going to want to repeat it. Right? So nerve flossing is great because this is the sciatic nerve. And ideally, right, you want it to just be able to glide over the top of your muscles, the fascia, back and forth like a piece of floss through your teeth. We don't want it to get stuck. It can get stuck when a muscle is too short and too tight. And that squeezing of that nerve is what can cause that sciatic pain. Drawing the knee up towards the armpit, extending out to the point of a little shaking, a little perturbation, back and forth. Floss. And then crossing over. So you're taking care of two really great things here. So you're working on that sciatic nerve, and you're also working on the piriformis muscle. Specifically, that's the muscle, one of those deep outward rotators in the hips where the nerve runs over and can squeeze, right? And it can get tight. And so we're getting into that figure 4 move. So stretch and open that up. Give the nerve more space. We all see you. Inhale, exhale. 30 seconds to work on the release, to work on letting go. Great, and take your time. Coming undone with that, just watching out for the back there. Good, all good things, right? All good things, taking care of some nerve health there. And we're gonna go into a little bit of revolving, but of course I'll make some different choices if you don't want to get into more than one plane at a time. So let's go wide here and just come forward as we were doing earlier. Staying really into one plane, but I'm gonna offer a second. So you can sample this out by just taking one arm. You can keep your shoulders square forward. You can see what would happen if we'd start to lift that opposite shoulder up and do some rotation in the lumbar as you're leaning forward. Just want you to sample that. I really want you to be able to come up on your own with the back. Come forward again. I'm going to drop that arm. I'm going to bring the other shoulder up. And then come up on back strength alone. So range and motion and reaching is all great, but strength is our focus. I want you to be able to come up more than being able to extend out. So I'm going to expand my range. You can do the same, but it's not how I push off the floor to get up. It's how I use my back to come all the way up. Opposite side. Then all of us have different issues, different things going on. And so you just honor the range of where you're attempting to go. And if it doesn't expand all the way for you, maybe just keep it bent. Just watch out, because when it's not working somewhere, the body's going to try and naturally go to somewhere else to try and get that range for you. I'm going to use my hand to slide down this time. So as I come forward into one plane, I can start using my arm to push me into another. Come up on back strength alone. Opposite arm, come forward into one plane, and then use that arm to push you into another. And come up on back strength alone. Great. Feet together, so you don't have to cross over, you don't want to. This is going to be a lumbar rotation or a thoracic rotation. If you drive, you need this. So let's do the first round with the feet face forward as if you're driving, a little bit loose, not really sort of supporting you up. And let's do a thoracic rotation. Let's bring the neck in there. Make sure the shoulders are dropped. That's definitely something applicable, something you need. And so opposite side as well. Just like you're sitting in a car, hips facing forward, movement's going to be in the thoracic region. Boy, oh boy. Neck movement. All right, I'm going to cross over. So you can do it a second time. You're like, I don't like the crossover. This is great for me. This is going to help me with driving. You can keep your feet forward. I'm going to do a little crossover. Just going to enhance it a little bit more. Opposite side. I don't know what's going on. Why she's so needy. She went to the dog park and everything. You're embarrassing me. Excellent. Come forward. Let's take some final deep breaths together. You can put your hands together if you need to. So you breathe in and out. We honor the process of strengthening and being in that space of strengthening, knowing that we are seeking more strength and that you actually came here today with strength and you shared that strength. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina.
You're welcome.